Welcome back to the Michigan Outdoors podcast. Today we are doing episode 16 and a half. It's a mini pod. I'm here with Steve Wyndham. We have two very special guests today, Senator John Cherry and Senator John Bumpstead. Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
We'll be talking about the new license fee package and what goes into that. So before we really get into the license fee package, I'd love for the listeners to learn a little bit more about where this bill came from. You guys are both hunters, so I'd love to hear just a little bit about your hunting background, fishing background, why this is also important to you, and just kind of, your general background of the outdoors. Whoever wants to go first.
Well, so I'm John Cherry, and in terms of my hunting and fishing background, I think it's probably similar to most of your listeners. I had a dad who taught me to hunt. We went pheasant hunting together. That's the activity we enjoyed together. I had a grandfather who would take me up every fall and every spring to fish for salmon and steelhead, and just grew to love the outdoors. Ended up getting a natural resources degree and kind of going into that field when I was in college, and just love everything about the outdoors. I'll turn it over to John before we talk about the package.
I'm Senator Bumpstead from the west side of the state, born and raised in on the Muskegon River. So the outdoors has been a big part of my life, my family's life, and fishing, hunting, outdoor camping. And that's really why I came to Lansing to work on DNR budgets and outdoor recreation budgets. And I've been here going on 13 years, and it's always been my passion. And working with Senator Cherry, it's been a real pleasure this year to come up with some really good ideas. We know this package isn't finished by any means, but there's been good cooperation between parties, and he's reached out, and we've worked very well together. And people should know that we can get things done in Lansing bipartisan, and we're showing good faith and effort.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning of the year, Senator Bumpstead and myself connected, and we both thought we needed to address the funding issue that exists for natural resources in Michigan, and thought we could work together to figure out a way to do it that's going to address the funding issue, but also kind of minimize the burden we're placing on your everyday hunter or angler. And I think I'm very appreciative to Senator Bumpstead for working with me together on this, and think we've gotten a good initial product here to start with.
Yeah, I think that's pretty refreshing too, is to see a package like this come from people that are hunters themselves, right? Like, it's very easy to look at the DNR and say, hey, they're just politicians. They don't really care about this as much. But when this is coming as more of like a personal thing where you guys are personally invested in this and you're doing it because you want to see the resources be conserved and you want to see everything moving forward, I think that's new and very refreshing for a lot of constituents.
This will be my 57th year as a licensed hunter.
There you go.
Because I have 68 years coming up. And I got my first hunting license when I was 10. So that tells you how much I enjoy it.
Yeah, you got a lot of experience then.
And I travel around the world a lot, hunting and fishing, mainly hunting. In what we have in Michigan, we have such a world-class fisheries and outdoor recreation and hunting, but we don't pay very much. It's not that we have to pay a lot, but we have to. Me as a hunter, I think we should pay our way. We shouldn't have non-hunters and non-fishermen pay for what we enjoy doing. And if it's our passion, we should pay for it. And if you look at the other states around us, we're either at their price or much less, even with a fee restructuring. So it's like, last time we did it was 13 years ago, and I sponsored that bill. And it's been that many years since we've done anything. And just the cost of goods and services have gone up exponentially. And it's time we look at it again. And we just can't keep going down the road of just, we don't like fee increase. To me, this is more of a user fee. If we use it, we have to pay for it.
Yep.
So just for those who are listening and might not know where to find it, is the new structure public knowledge now that people can go and see what these increases would be, what the proposal actually stands as the bill is written now, and where can they find that at?
Yeah, I mean, the bill itself's on the Michigan Legislature website. So I think it's 272. 276. Thank you. I don't memorize even.
That's how we bring them along, right?
Yeah. But
shadow.
That's all is in very, technical legal language. Hopefully pretty soon when we end up having a hearing, there might be some, easier materials to digest. And actually, I think you guys might have put out a blog post that details kind of the specifics. So
Does it have
I
the
would
table
actually,
in it?
Yes.
Okay, so at the mucc.org website, there's like a Justin's blog post and a table of the breakdown of the current and the proposal of the fee package.
yeah, that's probably the most easily digestible, accurate place to go.
So head to mucc.org/blog and you can find it there. But talking through these changes, I mean, can you guys give us an explanation of what are the biggest changes here? I mean, we know there was a license package not that long ago. What are the big differences here? What should people be aware of?
Yeah, so folks might remember that the department had a proposal in last fall, and it was about a 40% across the board increase. This has an increase, but it's not to the same level as the department. I say it's more like in 20% maybe. And then we also try to offset some things. So, for example, we reduce the cost of an antlerless license. So right now, a lot of folks know we are not harvesting enough antlerless deer, and so it's to help encourage people to focus on taking more antlerless deer, help our deer management, and then also to kind of if you're trying to put meat in the freezer, we don't want to put an additional burden on you. So there's a way to actually pay less than you do today to hunt deer if you're gonna take antlerless. We fund hunters education, expand the Wildlife Council funding in the Sportsmen's Against Hunger. And then, I guess the other piece that I'd point out is with Senator Bumpstead's bill, we really try to deliver on the promise that's been there for many years, unfulfilled, of reimbursing the department for the discounts that are in place. So, there's like a 60% senior discount. And the way it's been in statute, it requires the legislature to actually appropriate that every year, and every year the legislature has broken that promise. And through Senator Bumstead's bill, we're able to actually reimburse that in a way that the legislature doesn't have to take action.
To the tune of several $1 million a year that's costed in the outdoor rec.
I was going to ask, yeah. So that's a major impact.
And I encourage legislators when they come to Lansing, be careful what we ask for, because about election time, everybody's always trying to give stuff away free, and at the end of the day, it's going to cost some, the group some dollars. And how do we recoup those dollars? So we need to be very careful on legislation just to give things away free. It comes back to haunt our budgets.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys put a lot of thought into this, obviously, then, and it's not just a rehashing of the 2024 budget. I mean, it's pretty different. It's a pretty different bill entirely.
Correct.
Yeah.
We were meeting weekly, bi-weekly for 2-3 months, and it wasn't just us. We had staff there, different groups were there, and got their 2 cents worth. And I think for a first draft coming through the Senate is pretty good. And like I say, I hunt all over the world, and what we have in Michigan and what we pay for is pretty inexpensive. I don't even think twice of these types of numbers. I know other folks probably do, and I get it if you have a family. But at the end of the day, we still have to, there's a lot of things we need to pay for to maintain what we have in this state. Mm-hmm. It's not cheap anymore. Nothing's cheap.
Yeah. And so, I mean, speaking of that maintenance, that care that, the DNR provides for natural resources for these game species, talk a little bit about why maybe it's important that we are increasing the license fees to fund that. And does the DNR get any of our tax dollars? Does the DNR have any other source of funding? And, you said that it's not supposed to be too burdensome to the average hunter and angler, but how does that other funding come into play so people might be able to understand how is the DNR funded and the importance of these license fees, and does the DNR get any other dollars?
There's a little general fund, but not a whole lot. Mm-hmm. Now, we got to understand in Michigan, the state manages just on state land 4.6 million acres, not including some federal land and some private land that we manage. And there's a lot of other users that you have hikers, you have bikers, you have horse people. They're really not paying for anything on the land, where the hunters and fishermen are the ones actually writing the ticket or the check and paying the cash for their licenses. And it'd be nice if some other groups found a way to chip in free, but it seems like the hunters and fishermen are kind of paying the way now. So it's just getting everybody to collaborate. That's why I encourage everybody to buy a state park pass and buy a hunting license. Even if you don't hunt, it helps manages our wildlife and our recreation in our wildlands, because it takes a lot of energy, as you folks know through MUCC and all the projects that you do. It's not cheap to do that.
I think what
Yeah.
you just said is really interesting, and I don't know if I've heard anyone say that, but having the non-consumptives buy hunting licenses to continue what they want to do and to fund what they're doing. I don't know if I've actually heard anyone word it that way, but I think that's really interesting. Of just, yeah, like the hikers, the foragers, the campers, whoever's going out and using it, they can make a difference by
Birders,
purchasing.
if you want to help the Kirtland
Mhm.
warbler, buy a hunting license.
Yeah, base license is easy enough
Just
for
buy the
anybody to
base
get.
license. I mean, that helps the whole state, because we all like a clean environment, a healthy environment. We all like our outdoor recreation. And if you really like it, buy that base license. That way you can actually say, we made a difference.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
probably a strong message, that instead of having to create a mountain biking permit or a kayaking permit, or these, like, we can just tell everybody, go buy a base license.
Correct.
Go help with the funding, go help with the resource, buy your base license, and to continue to enjoy your recreation.
Correct.
What were you gonna say, Senator?
Yep. Well, I was going to say, as Senator Bumpstead was talking about, there's very little general fund that goes into the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and so the vast majority of funding comes from hunters and anglers, whether that's
Mhm.
license fees or Pittman-Robertson, the federal excise tax on firearms, or Dingle-Johnson federal excise tax on fishing equipment. And so when the challenge that we have nationally is, and in Michigan, is a declining user base. So since the funding primarily comes from hunters and anglers, you have fewer hunters and anglers over time. That's kind of shrinking the revenue for conservation, and that's happening at the same time that you have costs increasing. Fish hatcheries or structural repairs for whether you're repairing a dike in a managed waterfall area or parking lots at a game area, right? All that stuff, the cost is increasing while the funding source is decreasing. And that's kind of why the dollars we're putting in we're adding on to that fee for the Wildlife Council, dollars that are about preserving hunter heritage,
Mhm.
Going into hunter education and recruitment. I think that's very important, so that we're actually investing in expanding our user base.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point with the declining user base, and that's obviously something that we both work with. I mean, the youth hunters are declining, the older hunters are declining, and this actually is a good segue into a question we've been getting a lot, is talking about the senior discounts, and that's something that we've already been getting questions about. So I just wanted to clarify as well. Does this legislation retain the senior discount, and does it continue with that?
Yeah, so there's currently a 60% senior discount, and this does retain that senior discount. And then we also add in a youth discount that's
Mhm.
equivalent to the senior discount. So I think it's 16 or younger. You'd be eligible for that youth discount. So if young people are who we're recruiting in, we should be providing, I think, that same discount for them.
And you guys mentioned that Senator Bumpstead, your bill mandates the legislator to reimburse the DNR on those costs. Does that cover any other licenses? Does that include the veteran tags, or what other tags are included in that reimbursement program?
Any of them that are discounted, your
Okay.
seniors will be youth,
The youth, yep.
and veterans.
Awesome.
Yeah, and hopefully there's no more.
Yep. no more discounts.
Well, that we're dealing with that problem right now.
Yeah.
This is the reason we have to address it, because of legislators.
Mhm.
So it's great. Everybody, at the end of the day, we can still hunt and fish pretty cheap in Michigan, no matter if there's a discount or not.
Mhm.
But the ones that are there are retained.
And then
So,
speaking of back kind of on that hunter decline that we're seeing nationwide and statewide, does the legislature, the DNRC, the Michigan Wildlife Council, is that main recruitment arm, or what other ways is this funding going to be able to help that recruitment process or continue to bring new hunters or new anglers into the fold?
the Wildlife Council was set up. I helped set that up with MUCC. We did that in our last fee package. And it's not to bring in hunters, it's to educate the non-hunting, non-fishing public about the benefits of of wildlife management through hunting and fishing.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, that's a ballot. Get those people to be positive when they go to the ballot box.
Yeah.
And I'm sure some of that does resonate, bringing people in, but that really wasn't the whole axis of the whole program. And I think you see that in Detroit because of Belle Isle. I think since DNR has taken that over, the users, I think it's the number one park in the state now. And I'm sure a lot of those people now are buying licenses because they see a great park that wasn't there 6 years ago. And so I'm sure we see some of that, rubbing off on maybe that does bring a few people in.
And you talked about the last fee increase. Do you remember how many years ago that was?
It was 2012, 13.
12. Okay. So what's the expectation for hunters in Michigan then? I mean, is it every 10 years we're looking at a new fee increase, or what's kind of the strategy or the roadmap for maintaining that over the next 10, 20, 30 years?
I think we should look at it a little more proactively every 4-year election cycle or something like that. And maybe we need to do a better job educating legislators coming in, because you get 30 or 40 new House members every 2 years, have no clue on what funds the DNR, how they operate, and where the money goes. I think we could do a better job, maybe getting help from the user groups. We have the Sportsman's Caucus. A lot of our members don't go, but educate, how important, what the dollars bring into the state of Michigan on hunting, fishing, camping, timber land. That's a DNR issue as well. I mean, it all works together. In mineral leasing, how that affects the state park endowment and all those programs is huge.
It's, while the Wildlife Council is, as you said, is about getting the general public to appreciate the benefits that hunters and anglers provide to the general public, or even just to our state overall. And while this fee package is looking at a lot of great things, does it specifically focus on or provide additional funding for hunter recruitment through hunter education in schools, or funding, Hunters Feeding Michigan? What are some things that this is going to allocate for those programs to really help recruit and bolster our forces?
Yeah, and last year, Senator Bumpstead had a great bill, allowing hunter education in schools, and we got it out of the Senate. Didn't get it done in the House at the end of the year last year, but this does have dollars, and I think it would raise over, I think it's like $2.5 million was the calculation on it for hunter education and recruitment.
Awesome.
And at least half of that would have to go to hunter education. So really kind of making sure the dollars are in place to do the things that Senator Bumpstead was promoting through his bill, that I support. And I was glad he put that forward, and hopefully he can get it done again this session, or get it out of the Senate again this session. So really making sure there are dollars to get that in-person hunters education instruction. Because I remember going to, actually my hunters education was actually at Grand Blanc High School. After I didn't go to Grand Blanc, that's where they were. Yeah. That's where it was held. And having that in-person instruction from instructors who you get very interactive, and then going out to I think it was Grand Blanc Huntsman's Club where we did our our field piece there. And I mean, that I think is extremely valuable if you're going to get people through Hunter's Ed and have them then go forward and actually engage in the recreational activity.
And to get some members on board too, there's a lot of new legislation that was passed last year regarding safe storage bills. That can be taught in that program, because a lot of people don't know the laws unless you're in a class to learn the laws. So this is a big part of that. It'll hopefully save lives.
All right. So we're talking about license fee dollars. And, I think one of the misconceptions a lot of people think is that their license fee dollars are ending up in a general fund. It's not restricted. And the DNR is just kind of losing that money when it goes to a general fund. So, I mean, first off, is that true? Are my license dollars going to a general fund?
And how do restricted dollars play out within the funding of the DNR chain?
Yeah, so when you buy your hunting and fishing license, that goes into the Game and Fish Fund. The Game and Fish Fund is what we call a restricted fund, which means it can be only used for very specific purposes. In this case, it's conservation wildlife. And so those funds get exclusively used within the Department of Natural Resources for purposes of propagating wildlife in fisheries. Within the department, there's different things that might get funded. So like law enforcement, you have the law enforcement division and your conservation officers. They're partly funded through game and fish dollars. And so, but they're out there protecting the resources. And you have some pieces of like marketing and outreach. They do things with becoming outdoors woman and all these recruitment activities. Some of those game and fish dollars go to marketing outreach to do their promotion of the activities as well.
But the majority of it is restricted to that, what we are wanting it to be as outdoors men and women.
Oh, it's all restricted.
Yeah.
And it has to be spent under those specific purposes. And I would say law enforcement enforcing the game laws is, about conserving our natural resources. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. You guys have any other thoughts or anything you want to touch on real quick before we wrap up?
We all really appreciate what we have in Michigan. I think a lot of people don't really understand what we do have in Michigan, from the UP down to the southern border. It's a huge state, very diverse, and we've all spent, especially myself and Senator Cherry, he can speak for himself, but he did a little earlier. We've spent a lot of time in the outdoors with family and friends, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks a year, 2 or 3 days a year. Sometimes depends what we're hunting or fishing. Depends on the year. And it's not sometimes just Michigan, but it's other states as well. And the best parts of my life are what we do in our outdoor recreation. And we need to make sure we can maintain that for years to come, and our kids and our grandkids. And the way to do that is, really, nobody wants fee increases. I understand that completely, but we also don't want to lose what we have.
Yeah. And to echo Senator Bumpstead, if you take a moment and think about the times in your life that you cherish the most. On a personal level, I think about the past few years going down and fishing the Detroit River with my 8-year-old daughter, catching walleye in the spring, or in the fall she'll tag along with me while I go grouse hunting with our dogs, and eyes lighting up when we actually flush them. And I seldom actually shoot them, but
flush 'em.
but if you're a grouse hunter, the rush is in the flush. Those are the memories that I cherish, as a father and a Michigander. And I expect for your members, your listeners, that they're going to have similar moments that they cherish. And what this does is really make sure the funding is available to continue for Michiganders to continue to have those moments for generations.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Appreciate that point.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we're obviously huge fans of, conserving our land and trying to continue to create that for generations to come, and allowing all the future generations to have the same experiences and opportunities we did. So, we love to hear it. But yeah, thank you both, Senator Cherry, Senator Bumpstead. Thank you both for coming in. This has been great. We really appreciate it. And that's going to be it for episode 16 and a half. We will see everyone next time.